Welcome to the Greatness Engineering Hour show. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. And as usual, I bring you the best. And today we're going to the US and we're going to talk about, persistence and really, having, this resilience when you have to, you have to push through and you have to empower yourself. And my guest is Shailah Edmonds, and she's a former model, an author as well, and she will share with us, her story because she's been a trailblazer in the modeling industry, starting in a native America and then moving to Europe. But I'll give her the opportunity to introduce herself. But for today, let us know where you're watching from, and if you have a question, don't hesitate. If you have something to say and to if you want to participate and join the conversation, you are most welcome. This show is for you. We bring you for you to learn, for you to be inspired, and for you to be able to bring the message that the message that we bring on this platform to to your communities, to your families, and help you to go to the next level of your greatness. So don't go anywhere. I will bring Sheila with me, but don't forget to have your pen and your paper, because there's going to be a lot that's going to be shared, and I hope you're going to get hope you will be pleased to be able to participate and bring this show to the next level. So don't go anywhere. We're going to start and bring Sheila now. Another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour show, the show that is brought to you by the Birai Telekima Global Leadership Organization.
Real is important is if you just look at the word compassion, when it's behavior, it's something that can be learned, and it is something that we can embody through habits and through our daily actions.
To get this idea that if we interject this wisdom intentionally, I call them needle movers. It's the needle mover that's missing.
Don't deprive the world of your greatness. Please. Don't do that anymore. Dare to excel, dare to be sexy, dare to be you, dare to be the best version of yourself. Impact yourself positively, and from there impact others, and you are not alone.
So welcome, Shailah, to the Greatness Engineering Hour show. It's a pleasure to have you. Like I was mentioning, I'm so excited to have you and to really, get to to know about your story, because as I was, mentioning at the beginning, being a trailblazer can be really draining, and I'm really curious to know, how you travel, this trailblazing, journey. But before we get to this point, just introduce yourself and let us know who is Shailah and what are the key things that you want us to know about you.
Yes, hello, Muriel, and thank you so much for allowing me to be on this platform. I'm just thrilled to share my expertise and hopefully empower and enlighten people. I am Shailah Edmonds. I'm a former international couture model and author of my memoir, Wild Child to Couture Style. I have worked and lived in Europe for many years and worked for every major designer in the world, all over the world, which sounds really glamorous, but it was a tumultuous journey to get to that point. And I want to encourage you and tell you how I persevered through so many obstacles to get to where I am today.
Fantastic. And that's really going to be the topic of the day, where we're going to talk about, perseverance and how, you went through all the obstacles and all the challenges that, you've encountered. But, I just want to know, how did it all started? Because, there's always, I don't know, there's always a dream, I think. So what
Absolutely, yes.
actually led you
Let me
to,
tell you how
to
it all
modeling?
started. I tell you, I came from a small town, Portland, Oregon, and ever since I was a child, I always wanted to be a movie star, a dancer, a singer, and there was no outlet for a person of color in my hometown. And even into my early teens, I was trying to put a three-girl group together and sing and do things, but we could find no place to perform, and it was so frustrating. So I became rebellious and just became a horrible teenager and started going out doing all the wrong things and hanging with the wrong people, and got into so much trouble. And that's the first point I want to make to parents. If you have children and you see they have some kind of talent or interest, please pay attention and expand on their likenesses, because most of the kids that get into trouble these days are frustrated because they haven't pursued their dream or what they really want to do in their heart. So anyway, after becoming a rebellious teen, I finally woke up and said, I realized my life was in shambles, and I went back to school and even made it to college. And I met a boyfriend who was from Washington, D.C., and he took me back to his hometown of Washington, D.C., and we got married. And he was going to play professional basketball, and everything was just so wonderful. And he didn't make the team, and we were both young, and we just started growing apart. So that marriage didn't last. So I got a job at the telephone company. And one day I was walking down the street, and this lady stopped me, and she says, "You're so tall and beautiful, and you walk so beautifully in those high heels." She said, "You should be a model." And I said, I had no idea of how to be a model, even where to start. And she says, "I can teach you everything you need to know." So she took me to her apartment and showed me how to walk and put the books on my head and how to twirl and do all these things. And she sent me to New York for a model competition, and I won the competition. And I was so excited. So I says, I'm going to go. And after the competition, this lady approached me and said, if you want to move to New York, I can help you get started in your career and just, give you everything you need to make you a star. And I was so excited. So I went back to New York and put everything in a U-Haul truck and drove myself back to New York. And I went to research that agent who told me that. And when I got to her office, and she says, "I don't remember telling you that. And besides, there's nothing I can do for you right now because we have our quota of Black models." So there I was, stuck in New York with all my belongings and nowhere to go. And that was my first lesson in perseverance. Oh my goodness. So I started going around seeing different agents, and just only to get rejected time and time again. And I started seeing photographers that had been referred to me and taking pictures and thinking this one picture would change the agent's mind, and just to no avail. But there was one photographer who was so encouraging, and he took a big interest in me and said, you need to go to Europe to work because the black models are working there and you'll be a big star there. He says, there's too much competition here in New York and there's just, too many beautiful black women. So I said, I had no idea how to get to Europe. So I went to pick up my pictures from him one day and he handed me an envelope. And in that envelope was a ticket to Germany, a one-way ticket to Germany. And I just, I says, what am I going to do? So it's really great to have someone behind you who's encouraging. And this big point, I got on a plane and went to Germany without speaking the language, without having a visa, not knowing what was awaiting me. And that is whatever you're going to pursue, that's my next point, to have no fear. I was young, ambitious, and I just went for it and didn't know what was going to await me. And I get to Europe, I get to Germany, and not speaking the language. I went to the first agency that I could find in the phone book. There was a phone book back then. There was no internet. So she says, oh, you're beautiful and you could work here, but do you have a visa to work here? And I said, what is a visa? I had no idea. I didn't do any research. That's another point. If you're going to pursue any career, do your research and find out, what you need to do to pursue that career. So there I was, stuck in Germany, no working papers, nothing. So I just started going to every restaurant, everywhere I went. I started networking. And that's what you do. Tell everybody around you what you want and where you are. And I got so many offers. People were offering me to be a maid or to work in a bar and to do this. And I says, I didn't come to Europe to do these kind of menial jobs. So that's my next point. Have standards and stick to your standards. Don't settle for anything that you don't feel comfortable with or that's, a menial job. So I finally met a man who had connections with an art institute, and he says I could be an artist model, and I got hired at the university to be an artist model, which was part-time, and it still gave me time to pursue agents, but it was really still tough. So one day this gentleman called me into his office. He was a movie producer, and he says, I made a great connection for you. He says, I got you an appointment with a top agent in Germany. And I couldn't believe it. So I went to the agent and she was just amazed because before I left New York, this hairdresser had cut my hair into a butterfly style afro. It was just so abstract and it really turned heads. So I went into the agency and she was just amazed at the hairstyle and how I looked. And she says, we're going to make a lot of money. She says, I'm going to take you on. And since then, that's when my career started in Germany.
Wow, that's just so daring because just going somewhere, one-way ticket and not really, knowing
where or what you're getting into.
What's going to happen. That's having no fear, and that's what it's all about. It's we have to we can feel the fear, but we have to do it anyway and keep pushing.
Yes,
because otherwise nothing really happens.
Yes,
and
now
you made it.
Absolutely. I wouldn't recommend going to that extreme because the world was a lot safer then, and I wouldn't say go get on a plane and just jump into something now, but do your research before and just don't be afraid to take that leap. So anyway, I was working well in Germany. You'll see the German pictures that I shot. They had me working for ski magazines. I don't know if you want to show those pictures of I was modeling ski equipment and just I'd never been on a ski in my firm, but you see the abstract afro that I had. It was really So work was going well in Germany and I was doing okay, but something was missing. Something in my gut was telling me that I could do more. And that's when you have to really listen to your instincts. Let's see, let's not show those, just to stop the pictures for now. Follow your instincts. When your gut is telling you that you have more inside of you, when you think this, you'll attract the people that will take you to that place that you're thinking about. I'm saying, I just knew I could do more and there was more for me. And sure enough, I met these models who says you should go to Milan, Italy. I had done a show and they were living in Milan. And I got on a train and I went to Milan, Italy. And sure enough, I did the most beautiful pictures that I'd ever done in my life. You can show those pictures. They were just beautiful and just added so much to my portfolio. And they were just, they put mud in my hair and they just painted the walls for every outfit that I wore. And it was just really just amazing, the work and the time they put into all of these pictures. It was just beautiful. And they were beautiful. And then, but again, that feeling came over me saying, I could do more, because after the beautiful pictures, I just go home and I says, there was just no life. And again, I met other models who says, the shows are going on in Paris right now. They said a person like you could work really well in Paris because you're so tall and beautiful and thin, and you can carry those, you can definitely work there. So I get on a train and I go to Paris again, not knowing anything. And I find an agent, and he says the season was ending, but he managed to book me for 2 shows. Oh, I was so excited. Here I am, this little girl from Portland, Oregon, working in Paris, the fashion capital of the world. So when the season ended, I says, I know New York is going to take me now. So I had work from Germany, I had work from Italy and Paris. So I pack up everything and go back to New York and start seeing the agents again. And would you believe I was rejected again? Every turned me down again, saying these pictures aren't good enough. Or again, we have our quota of Black models, or, sorry, we just can't take you on. I mean, it was just blatant discrimination at that point. So I go back to Washington, D.C. I was just done at that point. I said, there's nothing else I can do. And I was just so frustrated when I went back. There was this gut feeling inside of me. I started getting depressed and just wasn't myself. And I says, I know I can prove America wrong. And got to give it one more try. So this time I organized myself. I planned. I called to see when the shows were starting. I called the agent. I did my budget. I got everything in order. And I went back to Paris with a vengeance. I was determined. And it just happened to be, it was the right time. The shows were just starting. And I was accepted, and I started going to see designers right away. And I saw so many designers. We had to go on castings then. Sometimes you had to go on castings. You went from one end of the town to the other all day, back and forth and back and forth. But just about every casting I went on, I booked the job. So on my way, I was on my way to being a top model in Paris. But there's one incident that I want to talk about. But going back to when I was frustrated and went back to DC, I just want to prove a point there that you have to have self-confidence. You have to know in your heart, because I knew in my heart that I had all the credentials to be a model. I was tall enough, I was the right size, I had the, everything was in order. So when you have that self-confidence and know that you can do something, don't give up, keep trying and go for it. So anyway, one incident when I was going on castings in Paris, oh my gosh, I was very tall at the time. I was 5'11", and the cutoff point for models at that time was at least 5'10", 5'9.5" to 5'10". So I lied about my height as well as my age, but that was before the internet, and I got it. So I went on this one casting, and I was tired. My feet were hurting. I was just, oh my gosh. And this designer told me I was too tall. And I said, and the street came out in me, my street life. I came and I started rolling my neck and rolling my eyes at him. I says, excuse me, monsieur, but tall girls can walk in your shows just as well as short girls. And you need some variety in your show. I says, just give me an outfit and let me try it on. And he looked at me, the French people, they were like, oh la la, what is this girl? He says,
who is this girl?
Exactly. He said, please give her a dress. So the seamstress brought me a dress, and the dress was just flowing as she brought it in. And I just knew when I looked at that dress, I said, this is going to be my dress. And I put the dress on, and it was Harlequin Quinn, and it was Harlequin print, and it was big and flowing. And I put that dress on, and I started walking and twirling and doing all my maneuvers until I was a big blur of fabric. And the designer was just in shock. He says, oh my God. He says, I've never seen anything like this. So of course he booked me for that show. And do you know that me and that dress ended up on the cover of Time magazine the following week? You'll see that picture. There it is
Yeah.
on
Wow.
the cover of Time. So the point here
The
is,
dress is beautiful
isn't
anyway.
that dress
Beautiful.
amazing? Oh
Mhm.
my God. It was just really just amazing dress. It just flowed as you walked, and I just loved it. And I ended up being amused for that designer. But the point here is to stand up against no. You're going to
Mhm.
be
Mhm.
told no so many times in your life, no matter what career you're going after. So, always ask for a second chance. Ask for a
Mhm.
trial. Say, let me just try it. And if I don't work out, I'll leave. Try to encourage people to hire you and stand up against it, or go back and research your career or whatever you want to do even more and come back again. Don't be afraid to go
Mhm.
back and see that same client and keep trying, because when you know in your heart that you have it, they're going to realize sooner or later you have that determination and you really want this job.
Mhm.
So that's really a big point that I like to make to so many people, just to be encouraged to stand up against no.
Mhm.
It's a small word, but it carries a huge impact. So really stand up against it.
And that's an important point for resilience, because
Yes.
sometimes when people say no, we think that that's the end of the road.
Yes.
But it is important to understand in a way that the no is just a way to redirect you, to really tell you, look for another way, look for another option to to
Yes.
get to where you are. It's not about stopping the progress. It's about learning and understanding. Maybe do more work. Maybe I need to do to meet different people, and
Yes.
really look at no as a redirection more than a stop,
Absolutely.
a big stop. So really,
Absolutely.
really good. So
Yes.
we're gonna have a break, and we will come back to continue this conversation. And as you can see, it's really inspiring, to see, and we've learned already so much. I mean, not no fear, stick to your standard, have your standard and stick to them. Have self-confidence and stand up against no, because no is not the end of of the road. So that's
That's
just the beginning. And for those just joining us, my guest today is Shailah Edmonds, and she's based in the US. She's a former model, but now, she wrote a book, and we're gonna get the opportunity to, to talk to a little bit about the book, because obviously we're not gonna, tell everything, because you need to read the book. It's not for us to, to talk about the book
yes.
fully. So don't go anywhere. We will be back in few minutes. So we are back. We are back with Sheila, and we have, a few people watching here. We have Rosalind. Rosalind, hi, thanks, Rosalind, for being here. She's watching from Texas. We have
Texas. Wow.
we have also Vilas. Vilas have been on the show. Is doing some amazing work in India. Coaching the young generation, and helping them to really, get, to excel and create, use innovation and creativity. So really good. And we also have Jamil. I don't know where Jamil is based, but is enjoying the show as well. So, I mean, after all this, I would say this storm, this this beginning, this storming. So what do you think, because obviously you've managed to get where you wanted, but how do you sustain that? Because it's quite a challenging environment. So how do you sustain, this level of, excellence? How do you sustain those standards? And how do you, continue to grow, in the industry with all those challenges?
Yes, it's quite difficult because in the entertainment, in the arts, any type of the arts, or any career actually, there is so much competition. There's always, that's my mantra, is there's always going to be someone better or worse than you. So you just have to know your place and stay in your lane and do the best that you can where you are. Because I, going back to Paris, after I was on the cover of Time, I started working for every major designer, and even elevated myself to the couture level of modeling. And that's when you'll see those couture pictures of say Valentino and Balmain. And the couture level is, for those of you who don't know what couture is, it's the highest level of modeling that you can get to. It's where things, you show the clothes are made for royalty or people of major stature. I mean, every garment is made to fit, handmade to fit on the person who's purchasing it. So nothing couture starts at less than $10,000 or $20,000. It's just for the upper echelon of people. So, and it's very rare for a Black model to make it to that level to show to these, these type of people. So I was very fortunate to get there. So, but that only made the jealousy and the competition worse, because the higher you get, the more they come for you. So it ended up, it's a very lonely business. I think any part of show business, when you're up, at the top level, you lose a lot of friends or so-called friends, and you just have to have that security within yourself and know that you're doing the best at your job and you were chosen to do this. And you just keep persevering, just as best you can, because it's really, really difficult. So I finally moved back to New York and was accepted with agencies finally.
Whoa, finally.
Yes. But I kept on traveling to Europe for maybe 5 or 6 years. I kept going back and forth. There's a circuit you go to: Milan, Italy, Milan, Paris, Japan. I traveled the world. I kept doing that for 4 or 5 years. And eventually, the modeling industry changes. So I'm trying to maintain myself and keep my stature and keep everything going. But then the 90s came, because I was in my height, the height of my modeling was in the, the late 80s. So 90s came and there was a whole new influx of models. There was Naomi and these big names with they had the PR people in front of them and they were just hyped up, and so sure, soon enough the 80s models were just passé. Nobody wanted to hear from them anymore. So that's a very difficult time, because you kind of have to know when your time is up and have a plan B, which most models do not have. So, as a matter of fact, I didn't either. So I did maintain myself, and I just stayed in my lane and stood up against the competition, because at that point I knew I was good, and I just did my best. And it was like a war. When you're on that runway, you just try to outdo and just get the best bookings that you can. But at some point, it's not going to last forever. So always plan B. It's very, very important. So when I got back to New York and the phone stopped ringing as often as it was, I was in a state like, what am I to do now? So I just fell back on my laurels, because I didn't realize how all that experience in Europe and all that I have done had given me so much knowledge. So I produced an instructional video, and I connected with this modeling competition in place, and I started training models. And I took that video and I traveled all over the United States to every modeling school and agency, training the girls how to walk on the runway, because all that European experience had given me the expertise to teach them, what I needed. So it's very important to know that you have the knowledge from whatever career you have the knowledge. If you're good at it, you have the knowledge to teach it, when you're not actually doing it anymore. So that was very, very lucrative for me for a long time. So I did that for a while, and then I settled in New York. And there's another level of modeling you can go to after you've come from the limelight, called showroom modeling, where you just you're working with the designer directly, and you show for private clients. When the department stores come to see the clothes, you try them on and show them to department stores or whoever's buying their clothes. So I did that for a few years. And then I said, now what am I going to do? So I did that. That was sustaining me for a long time, that and commercial print modeling. And, I ventured into other avenues of modeling as well. There's bridal modeling, swimsuit modeling, and, different aspects. So I managed for a while. And I started looking back in my journals, because everywhere I traveled, everywhere I went, I always kept a journal. I love to write. I love to sing. I just love every part of the arts. So I started looking in my journal, and I said, I've done a lot. And I just, all the things, I had some life-threatening events that happened on my journey, which I haven't talked about, but it's in the book. So I said, this should be a book. And I started putting it together. And I did that for a few years, and I started getting frustrated because writing a book is a big, big job. And I went out again and again networking. I was at a show, and I sat at a table with this guy, and I was telling him my story. He says, I'm a writer. He says, you need a book. And he turned out to be my co-writer. So again, that networking, tell people what you want. Don't be shy, because you never know who's going to be there, who can help you. And he turned out to be the best writer. He gave the book the flavor, the humor it needed, and just really just expand. I couldn't have written it without him.
So, no, just wanted to show the book. The book is Wild Child to Couture Style. So that's the book that you wrote with the co-author.
Yes. And that's, you see why the name is Wild Child to Couture Style, because I came from nothing, from a very wild, humble beginning, and made it to the couture level of modeling. So the book came out, and I was just amazed at how well it did, because people who thought they knew me never knew what I had gone through to get to the place where I am today. And I always loved to sing. I just love to sing. I've never, done it, taken real professional lessons. I've taken a couple of voice lessons here and there. But I decided this book needs to be a musical. So I started putting the book together as a show. And I put it on an off-Broadway stage. And I told the story and sang jazz tunes to, within the intervals, and made it into a play. And do you know, at that play, there was a person in the audience from the New York Times. Oh. And he was just amazed at my story. I didn't even tell you that this was. He says, I'm going to write an article on you on this because it's an amazing story. He said it needs to be expounded into a major play because it's such a story. And then the pandemic hit. And this was in 2020. And they kept pushing back on the story. And finally, the story came out, and it was a two full pages in the New York Times of my life and the play. And that really, really just put me onto another level as far as the book. And the book started selling internationally all over the world. I started getting calls from everywhere and offers, and I started getting film offers to turn it into a series or a film. And I had a contract with a major production company. And then that was the height of COVID, when it really started hitting so hard. And Hollywood just pretty much closed down, So they put me on hold for maybe a year or so. But and then the momentum just kind of left, and the whole Hollywood has just completely changed now. The budget, they're not putting as much money into the film, or they don't have the big budgets like they used to. So, and it's hard for them now to take a chance on a Black woman that's not a celebrity. So, I'm still trying to renew that offer with someone. But meanwhile, it's the book is still selling well, and things haven't really opened up as much as they should. But I'm hoping they will.
Yeah, and I think what it teaches us is that you have to reinvent yourself all the time. Even when
Yes.
You reach the top, it's
Yeah.
probably not just for models, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
If you want to stay, still, if you want to still grow, you have to learn to reinvent yourself, go an inventory of what you've learned through your journey, and the knowledge you talked about, the knowledge, and then use this knowledge in a different way to really reinvent yourself and position yourself, because it's competitive out there, very competitive, and it's important to have this this mindset.
Yes.
And one thing that I always wanted to know is, as a model, because your body is your asset.
Yes.
So what do you do to keep it it's as drastic as we hear, because we hear
this is
a
what
lot
I'm preparing now, because I want to talk about the setbacks, the pitfalls of modeling. It's very difficult physically, because not only demanding, that's why they like you to get into it while you're young, because it's very demanding. In the height of my career, I was doing 18 to 20 shows a day.
Wow.
Can you imagine? I mean, when do you have time to eat or sleep? But sometimes I'd start at 7 in the morning and not getting to bed until 2 or 3 in the morning. So it was nonstop. You're going to fittings, to shows, to photo shoots for. I mean, it just really never ending. So it takes a toll on your body. So it's very important to get your rest and be healthy, and to keep your weight. I've never had a problem with my weight, but there are people who do. So it's important to eat right and really, really take care of your body, and try not to go on these binges of fasting and dieting, because that puts your body in such a state that it doesn't know what it's doing. But it's very, very important, especially to exercise. I didn't have to exercise then, because my exercise was walking the runway and running around to getting shows. But at this point, unfortunately, there's not as many designers as there used to be. And there's just so many models and not as many designers. So it's very important to keep your body right and exercise. And especially it's difficult in these days, because everybody's sitting at the computer, and don't get out and exercise like they used to. But if you eat right and exercise, I think, and drink lots of water and keep yourself healthy, I think it's easy to stay in shape.
And it can be difficult, because as you said, you don't have time. You don't sit down.
Yes.
You can't cook.
Yes.
You don't have time to cook a good meal. So
Yes.
you might be tempted to just grab whatever food is around, and not really take care of yourself, and that can destroy the whole thing. And that's sometimes because we see a lot of models who are anorexic, or really battling with their body,
yes. And when I was coaching, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm very honest as a coach, because I tell most of the models that you see are, it's a gift. Like, everybody has a gift when they're born, and models are usually born with the gift of that body. They don't really have to have that challenge of dieting and that much. I mean, they do have a little challenge, but I tell them, I'm honest with them. If you're not tall enough, or you don't have the right measurements, this career is not for you. There are you can be a makeup artist, a hairdresser, or a stylist or something to be in the industry if you want to. But, when you don't have the credentials, the statistics, body statistics to be a model, it's not going to work for you. So I was pretty much born with it. And most of the models that I see are, born with that height and that stature and the measurements that they have. However, it's gotten to be really, really challenging, because when I was modeling, the standard size for a model was 6'4" to 6. And now the size is 0 to 2. So they've put a lot of pressure on these girls to be thin. And sometimes they're so thin that they look unhealthy, and they are unhealthy. I've seen so many instances of girls that it just makes me cringe, because they are just too thin. And they don't look healthy. But that's the extent that they go to be in this business. And it's
yeah. And one. And one thing I always ask myself is, as we know, because we see the world is changing, there's a lot going on. The digital is coming in. We talk about the metaverse. We talk about it. So how is it affecting? Because affecting the industry, because you've seen it all. I mean, you started in the 80s, and now you see how the industry is changing. What are the key changes that you've seen so far in your lifetime as a model and as coach and now still reinventing
yes,
yourself?
it's I've seen a lot of changes, because when I started, you could actually make an appointment and go see an agent and sit down and talk with them. But those days are over. Everything is done by the internet. You have to submit your pictures. If you want to be a model, you submit your pictures to the agent online, which is kind of detrimental to me, because you don't get from a picture what you see in in person. Sometimes that can be lost. And sometimes, a certain part of being interviewed is selling yourself in person. You don't have the opportunity to do that in a picture. So with everything going digital now, it's really, really difficult. And I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it's not as prominent now, but, there were a lot of internet models, Instagram, they would put these pictures, and you can enhance your pictures. You can make yourself look thinner. Or you can, change your picture and post yourself as a model. And they'd never worked anywhere or done anything major, but, they were modeling sometimes for major designers just from being seen on the internet. And sometimes the designers, many times, when you see a designer, the first thing they do is look at your Instagram account and see how many followers you have. If you don't have a lot of followers, or if your page is not really up to snap and have that edge of a model, they don't want you. They want thousands of followers, and your page has to really pop. So, the internet has really, really changed a lot. And for those who are not really internet savvy, it's detrimental, because I was just trying to place a model in an agency, and she didn't have that. And, sure enough, she was not accepted. So the internet has really, really made quite a difference.
And that's that's something that already discriminate, I think, because especially your generation cannot compete, because you still have to
Yes.
still have. But I see a new trend now. I've seen on the internet the models in their 60s. I saw it recently. That was actually in Africa, where they had model in their 60s, 70s. Really, really good. And it was actually well received. So it's again, this inventing yourself.
Yes. And I just maybe 2 seasons ago, I noticed they really were trying to use different types of models. They were using, you didn't have to be short, you could be plus, full size, not totally plus size. And even they did use some plus size models, and they use older models. They use, you didn't have to be that typical standard model. But that didn't last long. The last 2 seasons I've noticed in New York, they're back to using the thin models again, thin young models. And it's a pity because there are so many beautiful older models that really have something. And people in that generation and the mature generation are still spending money. They don't want to see these crazy clothes that's on these young people that they could never wear. So I don't know why the industry is not addressing that more. And I'm glad it's maybe, since it's happening in Africa, that it will come back here. They touched on it lightly, a season or so ago, but it seems like they've gone back to the same idea. There's 2 models that I know of that were just on the internet saying, the same thing of how they had to go to Europe to start. But, that was only on one day on the internet. And, they talked about how they were still modeling after so many years, but that's only 2. What is that going to a $1 million, $1 billion industry where there are thousands of models? Those 2 models are not going to make a difference. It has to be a trend all around. You have to mix the older and the younger and the different sized models. But, it comes down to economics as well, because the designer has to change his whole pattern of the dress to make it a different size model. If you're not a size 2 or 4, 0 or 2, that's extra fabric, that's extra work to make this, a few dresses for a different size model. So, with the economy the way it is, they don't want to spend that extra money just to do that. So they've gone back to the easy way out and just using models, which it's unfortunate, but still, as you say, they can use a different variety and have an age group, a bigger variety of an age group.
Okay, so we're gonna have another break, and then we'll come back to to finish the show. And that's what I was saying, is that it goes so fast.
I know.
We don't even realize that we almost we've been talking for an hour. But that's not a problem. So for for those who are watching, hopefully you will follow up with Shailah and continue this conversation, because obviously in 1 hour it's difficult to capture all her wisdom, all her knowledge, all the insight that she can share with us. But you always have the opportunity to connect with her after the show. But for the time being, we're gonna have a break, and we'll be back to for the last part of the show. Don't go anywhere.
Great. Thank you.
how I put it down. Look how we getting down. This is for legacy. Don't get it twisted now. Look how I put it down. Look how we getting down. This is for legacy. Don't get it twisted now. Look how I put it down. Look how we getting down. This is for legacy. Don't get it twisted now. We on the mission now. Speakers are getting loud. This is for legacy. I don't pretend to be something that isn't me. I just be doing me. I got a whole new style. I'm about to get real wild. Oh yeah, I'ma go off on this. Oh yeah, nigga, they getting sick. Yeah, you better get your fix. Yeah, we about to get so lit. Yeah, I'ma go off on this. Yeah, you better get your fix. This is for legacy. Don't get it twisted now. Look how I put it down.
So we are back with Shailah, and since we're talking about legacy, because I think the video is talking about legacy,
Yes.
one thing that I really want to know is through your career, what are the key I would say 2 or 3 learning that you've really picked up through this journey, and then what is the legacy that you want to leave?
Well, that's a big one. I first of all picked up perseverance. I have learned that is the key to being successful in any pursuit that you have. The second is to have patience, and knowing that if you're confident in what you want, that it will come if you keep putting your energy toward that mission that you're on. And the third is to write it down, leave something for people to learn from, make a video, write a book, teach, go around, teach the younger generation or the next generation to help them become or follow the path that you've been on. So that's the legacy I want to leave. And hopefully that, people that what I have left behind will reach people for years to come. So, yes.
And I like the write it down, because sometimes we keep everything for ourselves, but it's not meant to stay with us. We have to share. We have to give it to others, so that it can actually be we can perpetuate that through generation.
Absolutely.
And that's a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And one thing that I want to ask you: how do people connect with you, and also is there anything that you want to share? Is it an event happening? Is there something, a training, since you're doing a lot of training? And also let us know where we can find your book, because I'm gonna get the copy as
thank
well.
you. Okay, my website, you can find me on my website, which is ShailahEdmonds.com. That's ShailahEdmonds.com. And you can see everything that I do there. Also, my email is my name as well, ShailahEdmonds@gmail.com. My book is available through Amazon. It's an ebook, or it's also audio book and paperback, and that's all through Amazon or audio box, audio file. And that's my connection. But you can get in touch with me through any of those avenues, and I'll always get back to you with any questions. I am currently working on I've been writing my screenplay, for the next person who comes along who wants to do a film, and I just had it reviewed, and now they're telling me it's better for a TV series, because there's so many things that happened in that book that it just can be so many episodes. So I'm now changing it over to that, and looking for the right person to help me with that and take me to the next level. Again, I'm networking and realizing that timing is everything. I'm putting it out there and telling everyone that I'm talking to that this is my mission now, and hopefully I know that I will meet the right person to take me there, as long as I keep putting the energy out there. excuse me, I'm always available for training, but the training now is not as lucrative as it was because models don't really have to know how to walk on the runway anymore. There's no stylized modeling anymore. Everybody just walks really naturally. So I can just tell you the things that you need, the type of pictures that you need, the hair, the makeup, just the basics, and how to contact agencies. But the rest is pretty much easy enough to do on your own. And go to any fashion shows that you can, network with fashion people, and tell them what you want. Keep yourself out there and realize that timing is of utmost importance. And persevere. Don't give up. If you really want to do it, there's a runway out there for you somewhere.
Space. Yeah, and the perseverance is key. We've seen, your story is just as testimony of this, especially the starting point. You didn't give up, you find a way to get where you wanted to be.
Yes.
And that's the important thing. And again, I'm going to share, the key point. The perseverance is one, the patience, you have to be patient and you have to write it down, share with people.
Yes, self-confidence, and don't be shy. You can't be shy. You have to speak up for yourself. Yes.
Yeah, and no fear. Have
no
exactly.
Fear.
Have the standards. Have standard and stick to them, and have the self-confidence. And don't stand up against the no. Don't stand up against the no. You have to keep going. You have to keep pushing.
Yes.
And that's important. But knowing as well, especially for models, that you know when your time is up, and know how to reinvent yourself. Always have a plan B, and that's valid, I think, for
anyone.
Any industry. So thank you so much. This knowledge, those tips, those strategies, I know they're going to help. They are going to help the audience. And for those who are listening, please, share in your, in your families, in your communities, in your countries, wherever you are. Please share. And I just want to acknowledge one of our, our listener. She's been, with us for now.
Thank you.
3 years. So that's Amina. She's from South Africa, and she's enjoyed the show. And again, so she said, absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Yes, I hope that you've been inspired, Amina, and please share with your audience in South Africa. And if you want, please connect with Shailah and see how you can help her to spread a story and really get to help someone.
Thank you. And also on Instagram, everybody who
you are. So thank you so again for
Instagram. Give me a follow on Instagram. I'd always love to hear from you. I can always be on Instagram, Twitter, all of the social media. We have to be in social media these days. Please.
Exactly. So there's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So you can find Shailah everywhere, and just connect with her and see how you can connect and make an impact in the world. And also make sure, as usual, leave nothing on the table. For me is not, don't leave anything on the table of life. Keep going, keep pushing, keep, going for your dreams, and dream big, dream big. Don't, underestimate yourself. Don't disqualify yourself. It is, there's, as long as you wake up, in the morning, there is an opportunity waiting for you. Just look for this opportunity. So thank you again, Shailah, for being with us. It has been very inspiring.
Thank you.
And I have enjoyed this conversation, and my book. So get your book as well. Get a copy of your book, and really learn a little bit more about Shailah and her inspiring journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
and enjoy the rest of your day. For me, it's gonna be bye and also good night. I will be back for another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour show next week. And So next week we'll have several shows on Monday and one on Friday. So on Monday we're going to the US, and on Friday we'll be going to Nigeria. So thank you so much, and enjoy.
Follow you as well. This has been so inspiring for me as well. Thank you again.
Thank you. You are welcome. Take care. Bye.
Bye.